Hello and welcome to our new episode of The Magnificent Seven. Today we are going to be deep diving into something that we know is top of mind for you. And that is whether Google, under its parent company, Alphabet Inc., is a good investment for the next 5 years.
Right.
We know you want to understand this quickly and thoroughly,
Yes.
but without being overwhelmed.
Exactly.
So we've got an awesome analysis of Google stock to help us unpack this,
Right.
plus some up-to-the-minute data from a variety of financial websites as of March 11th, 2025.
Okay.
So let's dive right in. Where does Google's stock price stand at the moment?
Well, as of March 10th, 2025, it was trading at $165.72.
Okay, so that's actually a 4.52% drop in just the past 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to see those types of short-term fluctuations in the market,
Right.
but you really have to take a look at those in context.
Right.
If you zoom out a little bit over the past year, Google stock has delivered a very respectable 22.49% gain.
Okay.
However, if we dig just a little deeper, we do see some volatility recently, a 10.83% decline over the past month.
So it's been a bit of a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
If we look at the last 5 years, what story does that tell us?
Over the past 5 years, Google stock has surged by a huge 168.51%.
Wow.
So while, we do see these short-term dips, this longer-term trend really highlights the overall upward trajectory.
And despite that recent dip
Yeah,
that we were just talking about, I saw some analysis suggesting there's still room for the price to go up.
that's right. According to Investing.com's analysis as of March 11th, 2025,
Okay.
they identified a fair value upside of 26.56%. Now, these fair value estimates, the methodologies they use to come up with those numbers vary, but generally what it means is that based on their assessment of Google's fundamentals, the current stock price may be undervalued.
Okay, so it's not just about where the stock is now.
Right.
It's about where it might be headed based on this idea of the underlying value.
Yeah.
So let's look at historical performance beyond just the stock price.
Sure.
What can we learn from the earnings growth?
Well, what's really fascinating here is that Google has consistently been able to not just grow, but actually outpace its industry.
Okay.
Over the past 5 years, their average annual earnings growth rate has been a very strong 17.7%.
Yeah.
Now, when you compare that to the industry average for interactive media and services,
Right.
which is 16.4%,
Okay.
it really indicates that Google has a strong position and they're very effective at generating profit and expanding their business activities.
It sounds like that growth hasn't been just slow and steady. They've hit new 52-week highs so many times recently.
It has been very impressive, yeah. Barchart.com's data showed that Google stock hit a new 52-week high 28 times
Wow.
in the past year. So that frequency really shows that there are periods of strong positive sentiment and buying pressure.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier looking at different time frames.
Right.
Looking at that detailed performance data we have here. What stands out to you
Well,
when we consider the very short-term versus the long-term trends?
if we just step back and look at the bigger picture for a moment, those short-term fluctuations, like the recent 5-day dip of 0.50% or the 10.83% drop over the past month, they really appear as just temporary deviations when you look at them next to. The 6-month gain of 11.87%, the 2-year surge of 84.39%, or the really remarkable 5-year increase of over 200%.
Okay.
So this is really highlighting a key principle in investing.
And what's that?
Short-term volatility is often part of the journey, but that long-term trajectory can really reveal a company's strength and growth potential.
That long-term resilience seems really crucial. So what are the analysts who study this day in and day out? What are they saying about Google's near future?
Well, the general consensus among analysts seems to be pretty optimistic.
Okay.
Wall Street Scene's average 1-year price target is $212.84. For an investor, that's a potential upside of over 28% from where the price is right now.
Okay.
And MarketBeat has a very similar outlook, with an average 1-year price target of $210.62. They're forecasting an increase of about 27.84%.
Okay, so the experts on average see a pretty significant potential for appreciation in the next year.
Yeah.
But what about those long-range forecasts? We saw some numbers stretching out decades.
Yeah.
How much weight should we give those?
I think it's smart to take those very long-term projections, like the ones that suggest potential prices ranging from hundreds to thousands of dollars by 2050.
Okay.
You should really view those as directional indicators of potential, more than as precise predictions.
Okay.
It's just very difficult to predict that far out. The technological and economic landscape can change so dramatically over that kind of time frame,
Sure.
but they do reflect a fundamental belief in Google's continued importance
Okay.
and potential for growth over the long term.
So we have some specific analyst ratings to consider as well. We've got a mix of hold recommendations and strong buy recommendations. With price targets generally above the current trading price, I think that suggests kind of a cautious but optimistic outlook.
I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah. And that range of ratings and price targets really reflects the uncertainties and the different perspectives, even among experts. But that general leaning towards buy or hold really suggests that the prevailing view is positive about Google's near-term prospects.
So let's move beyond just stock price and analyst opinions
Yeah.
and look at the actual financial engine of the company.
Yeah.
How did Alphabet perform in 2024 in terms of revenue?
Well, in 2024, Alphabet's annual revenue hit a pretty substantial $350.018 billion.
Okay.
That's marking a very healthy 13.87% year-over-year growth.
Wow.
So they're clearly still able to expand their business and generate more income.
That is significant growth for a company that size.
Yeah.
Which parts of their business are really driving that?
Well, the growth is really being driven by strength across several key segments. Google search remains a really core and profitable business.
Right.
YouTube ads are continuing their upward trend.
Okay.
And importantly, Google Cloud is growing very rapidly and becoming a more and more vital part of Alphabet's overall revenue.
So Google Cloud is really making a name for itself.
Yeah, the combined annual revenue run rate of Google Cloud and YouTube hit $110 billion. So that really highlights their growing significance.
And just to clarify,
Yeah.
when we talk about annual revenue run rate, we're essentially taking their recent performance and then projecting it out
Right.
for a full year at
Exactly.
the same pace. Okay. So profitability is obviously key.
Sure.
What can you tell us about Google's operating margin?
Well, Google maintained a very strong operating margin of 32% in 2024.
Yeah.
And basically what that means is for every dollar of revenue that they generate, 32 cents remained after covering operating expenses. So that indicates a high level of efficiency and profitability in their operations.
But they're not just pocketing all of that profit, are they?
No, they're not.
I know they invest very heavily in future growth.
They do. In 2024 alone, Google invested $47.53 billion in research and development.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is, and looking ahead, they've announced plans for approximately $75 billion in capital expenditures for 2025. A significant chunk of that is going to be building out their infrastructure to support those growing AI initiatives.
Speaking of AI, it feels like that's the key to so many tech companies' futures right now. So how is Google positioning itself in the AI landscape?
AI is really central to Google's strategy moving forward.
Wow.
They are integrating it across pretty much all their products and services. In their search engine, AI is being used to provide more relevant results, comprehensive results, to power those AI overviews that you may have seen, and to enable features like circle to search. Their aim is really to just make the search experience more seamless and helpful.
Okay, so even with all these really cool AI features, I understand that Google is still prioritizing sending traffic to websites.
They are. Yeah, that's a really critical aspect of their approach. They are enhancing search with AI, but they're committed to driving traffic to websites and online merchants. This is really important to maintain a healthy web ecosystem.
Okay.
And also it supports their advertising business model, which relies on users clicking through to websites.
So beyond search, where else are we seeing this AI focus?
Well, Google Cloud is a major area of development. They're creating these AI-powered cloud solutions that are tailored for businesses. And of course, we can't overlook Waymo.
Their self-driving car company.
Yes, their autonomous vehicle arm. They are widely recognized as a leader in the self-driving space. That's a big long-term bet for them on the future of transportation.
So they're innovating, but obviously the tech world is so competitive.
It really is.
Who are Google's main rivals?
Well, they're facing some stiff competition from other tech giants like Microsoft, especially in search and AI integration.
Okay.
Amazon, of course, is dominant in cloud computing and e-commerce.
Right.
And Apple has a huge influence with their hardware and software.
So in such a crowded field,
Yeah.
what gives Google an edge?
Well, Google has several advantages.
Look at what.
First of all, their brand recognition is immense.
I mean, everyone knows Google.
Yeah. The name Google is basically synonymous with online search. They also have a proven track record of innovation, driven by all that R&D spending that we talked about. They have access to vast amounts of data, which is really crucial in developing and refining AI algorithms. They also have global reach, a deeply embedded ecosystem, and they're even moving into affordable hardware to expand their user base.
So looking ahead, what are the key areas that Google is focusing on? to maintain and grow their dominance?
Well, their strategic priorities are really centered on AI, which, as we've said, is integrated into basically everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
They're also very focused on a mobile-first approach. They recognize that smartphones are the dominant way that people access information these days, and the development and expansion of voice search and virtual assistants, like a Google Assistant,
Okay.
remain key areas of investment.
So now for something a little different, Google recently started paying dividends,
They did.
which is a pretty big shift for them
Yeah.
from their traditional approach. What can you tell us about that?
So after years of primarily reinvesting earnings back into the business for growth, Google started paying dividends in 2024. They paid out a total of $0.40 per share for the year, distributed as $2.20 payments. Current projections suggest that they'll continue with $0.20 per share for 2025. Now, the current dividend yield is modest, but this move signals a potential shift in their capital allocation strategy and provides a new income stream for investors.
Okay, so overall, the picture seems positive,
Yeah,
but we need to be realistic.
of course.
What are some of the risks that could impact Google's performance and how attractive it is as an investment?
Well, it's very important to consider those risks.
Okay.
Google is facing increasing scrutiny from regulators. Because of their dominance in areas like search and advertising, there are also those concerns around data privacy.
Right.
We can't forget about the competition from other tech giants. That could erode their market share or put pressure on their profits.
Yeah.
And they are very reliant on advertising revenue.
Okay.
So any downturn in the digital ad market
Right.
or the rise of effective ad blocking technology could hurt them.
And what about these large language models, like ChatGPT?
Yeah, that represents a potential disruption to their core search business model.
Okay.
And then there are even broader issues, like the impact of net neutrality repeal. That could have unforeseen consequences for how they deliver their services.
Okay, so lots of factors to keep an eye on. But bringing it all together, what's your overall assessment of Google as an investment for the next 5 years?
Based on everything we've discussed, Google seems like a really good investment opportunity for the next 5 years.
Okay.
They have strong financials, a dominant market position in key areas, and they have a clear focus on AI, which will drive future growth. There are definitely risks to be aware of, but Google's strengths and capacity for innovation seem to outweigh those challenges.
So a cautiously optimistic outlook then,
Right.
and emphasizing the need for investors to stay informed.
Yeah.
This has been a really insightful deep dive
It has.
into the investment potential of Google. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
And remember to subscribe to our channel.